What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. I'm Power Sports Steve, and today we've got utility ATVs. That's right, we're doing an old school shootout today again. It's been popular in the other videos that we've done, so today we're going to do the 400, 450, 500cc class ATVs. We may break it up in a couple different videos, but folks, we have got the Suzuki King Quad 400. We've got the CFMOTO CForce 400, the Honda two-wheel drive 420 Rancher. For those of you that don't know, they still make a two-wheel drive. We've got the Honda 420 four-wheel drive automatic. We'll talk about the different transmissions on the Hondas that are available. We've got the Yamaha 450 Kodiak. I've got the Polaris 450 Sportsman, variables in that model as well. The CFMOTO CForce 500, if it makes it to this video, and then also the Suzuki King Quad 500. And last but not least, the Can-Am Outlander 500, and again, multiple variations are available in that model. So if you're looking for an ATV in this size range, this is the video you folks want to see, okay? We're gonna talk about, again, transmissions that are available, full drive systems. We'll talk a little bit about towing, any kind of features that stand out on these vehicles. If we have time, we're gonna try to ride some today. I know in the last shootout, we didn't even have time to ride them because we were super swamped at work. And again, we are here at Extreme Power Sports in Opelika, Alabama. So thanks for watching. Let's get to it. All right, folks, let's get to it. So a lot of you that are watching this video probably know more about these ATVs than what I do, and that's great. I appreciate you watching. I appreciate any input that you have in the video or the content and the machines, etc. I'm doing this video for a lot of you that are watching this video that really don't know what ATV you want. You don't know the differences in these models, right? And let's be honest, there's a lot. I mean, if we start talking about the Honda lineup, just in the 420 class alone, there's like 8 different models you can get in a 420 Rancher, for those of you that don't know. So it does get confusing, and hopefully this video can kind of break down those differences and maybe help clear up for you which model you might want the most, right? And that's the idea here. So hopefully you like the video. If you don't, well, let me know. A lot of you love to tell me that you don't like things, and that's okay. So I appreciate the feedback anyway. So let's talk about some of the obvious things. Transmissions, right? Majority of people today, for whatever reason, they're gonna want an automatic transmission ATV. They don't want to shift gears. They either didn't grow up on this stuff and riding motorcycles or whatever, and they just don't want to deal with shifting gears. And that's okay, because there's models for everybody, right? So every single vehicle out here really is going to be available in an automatic transmission, excluding the two-wheel drive Honda. So you don't have to worry about that. You can get the auto. Every one of these ATVs in an auto, except the Honda, runs a CVT transmission. CVT stands for continuously variable transmission. That means it has a belt in the transmission. Oh my goodness, you Honda people might be like, I don't want a belt. That's okay. I've heard it for years and years. A lot of people come into this store and they'll say, I want a shaft drive ATV. I don't want a belt drive transmission. And that tells me that you, excuse me, you really don't know what you're talking about, because all of these models are shaft driven. You're talking about, it's a final drive system you're talking about. Instead of a chain drive, you have a shaft final drive. These are all shaft driven. Those that run a CVT transmission do have a belt in the transmission. It has nothing to do with the final drive per se. There is nothing wrong with a belt, folks. Get over the belt. We've been doing this for years and years and years with belts. There's nothing wrong with belts, okay? Is there a risk that if you get into water with a belt drive transmission that it's going to slip and all that kind of stuff? Yes, absolutely, that is a possibility. Every Suzuki, Can-Am, Kawasaki, Yamaha, you know, whatever it may be, CFMOTO, all run a belt transmission. Excuse me for coughing. There is nothing wrong with the belt. Really, if you ask me, if you're hard on something and you glaze a belt, something happens, you put under load and you screw up the belt, you know, that's not the most expensive fix in the world. Usually 150, 200 bucks, you're up and going, put a slap of belt in it and you're good to go. If you tear up the transmission in a DCT Honda, you're going to pay through the nose to get it fixed. It is what it is, right? So, you know, a lot of you, I wish you just get over the belt transmission. There's nothing wrong with the belt, folks, and I know some of you are probably going to harp at me. I'll never own a belt, and that's fine. They still make a Honda ATV just for you folks, okay? All right, so let's talk four-wheel drive system, okay? There are multiple variations of the four-wheel drive system on these models as well, right? So obviously we've got just a two-wheel drive Rancher, that's just two-wheel drive. But if we talk about Hondas, you know, in that 420 class, you're just gonna have a limited slip front differential. So you put it in four-wheel drive, and those front two wheels are just kind of come and go as pressure and force is applied to them, okay? Whereas like you got a Polaris that I'm leaning up against, has a true all-wheel drive system. When you switch the lever into all-wheel drive, the front tires will not engage in pull until there is slippage on the back, right? And then all four tires are going to lock and pull on it. And then something like the CFMOTO's got a two-wheel drive, four-wheel drive, and then a diff lock lever, and then a King Quad's got a four-wheel drive selector, and then a diff lock selector as well. So those are kind of your key differences on these, right? Is obviously size, and then types of transmission available, four-wheel drive system that's available, and those are the big things that are going to separate all these models. And then from there, it's going to kind of be pick your flavor, pick what you like. All of them are going to fit a little bit different as far as the ergonomics, the handlebars, the seats being a little more comfortable versus the other, and all that. And then there's one other thing, and that's the brake system. I think I got into the brakes a while ago, and if so, I'll cut that on the video. But there's a vast difference in the brake system on some of these. So old school has the levers, right? Rear brake, front brake, maybe a foot brake pedal like on a Honda. That's how it's going to be set up. The Polaris, again for an example, is going to have one lever braking. So you got one lever on the handlebars, is going to apply brake pressure to all of it, right? All four tires. And then there's also an auxiliary rear foot brake. So like if you're going downhill, you'd want to use that rear foot brake. And again, on all these, you know, if you're in four-wheel drive and all the tires are locked and all that, if you apply any brake, it's going to apply, you know, technically braking pressure to all four tires. But the idea is, excuse me, like if you're going down a big hill on this model with the one lever braking, where it puts 60% of the pressure to the front and 40% to the back, if you just use the rear foot brake pedal, you're just technically really applying brake pressure to the rear wheels, and that's not going to, it's going to basically keep you from trying to, you know, go head over heels, so to speak. Again, those are key differences. From there, I'm going to kind of show you guys some things close up on each model. Hopefully you get an idea kind of what you like or whatever. You can always come by the shop here, check them out in person, of course, go online, watch my videos. We've got lots of videos coming, and speaking of, if you're not subscribed to the channel, appreciate if you hit that subscribe button, hit the like button if you like the video, and tell me what you like and don't like. So let's look at these things a little bit closer, okay? All right, first up, we're gonna talk about the Suzuki King Quad 400, okay? This vehicle's been around forever, and I have sold an absolute pile of these. As a matter of fact, we got 3 of these going out today. So this model is the automatic. It's a CVT transmission again, okay? Selectable 2-wheel, 4-wheel. It's got disc brakes on the front, and it has old school drum brake on the back. I wish it had the disc brake, but that's okay. This is more, again, entry-level value model, right? Standard rack system, metal rack, standard headlights. Does have a pretty nice bumper on the front. Does come with 25-inch wheels on it, or tires on it, excuse me. Got a nice wheel pattern on this model, on the camo that we've got on here. The big thing on the Suzuki 400 as compared to maybe a Honda Rancher 420 is that on either one, whether it's got the foot shift or the auto, is you actually have a subtrans. So you have a high range and a low range, okay? For a 400, that's a big deal. You know, for those instances where you do need to pull something because you do have a hitch on the back, right? If you need that extra grunt, you can put it in a low range and get just a little bit more grunt out of this thing. The other cool feature, again, and I'm you know, comparing this more to Honda because they're both kind of old school models, is you've got kind of a semi-independent suspension, okay? You got 2 shocks on this thing as opposed to having just one mono shock there in the middle, okay? gonna give you just a little bit better ride than what that one shock is gonna do, okay? Again, that's all your drum brake stuff on the back. Got your cables there for your adjustment, you know, righty-tighty, lefty-loosey. Kind of a old school dash, nothing super fancy on here. And we have another Suzuki video that's up on the web. It's got the 4, the 5, and the 750 in it that you can watch. So we're not gonna go into super detail, but basics on here: gear indicator, speedometer, fuel gauge, all that fun stuff. Four-wheel drive selector, just got a little lever here. Tilt it back, line up the dots just like that, puts it in four-wheel drive. And again, this is a limited slip four-wheel drive. It does have fuel injection on it. Something unique about this model is it has a fast idle. It's not really a choke, so don't call it a choke, but it's a fast idle. Will basically keep the revs up a little bit when it's cold, okay? Lights, high beam, low beam, switch on and off, and then your start button. Something unique again on the Suzuki is, I don't know if you can see this, there's an off, on, and a little emblem right there, if you want to call it that. That's your headlight switch. So if you want to get the lights on, you actually turn it this way to put the lights on, and then this is just your high beam and low beam. Turn the lights off without killing it, just turn it back to on. Of course, off is off, right? Pretty simplistic. Super nice machine. Really like the Suzuki's. Solid machines. Moving on, let's talk about the CFMOTO CForce 400. All right. This is the cheapest model in the lineup. It's about $5,300, $5,400 MSRP. You're looking at about another, another grand, or maybe a little bit more to get a Suzuki 400. So keep that in the back of your head. Value-wise, if you want to call it that, the CFMOTO is going to come in at the lowest price point for sure. Fuel injection, CVT transmission on it. Nice lighting. I mean, look at the back of it. I mean, the nice kind of LED lights back there versus kind of the old school halogen on a Suzuki. So I mean, stuff like that's kind of what sets these apart as far as when you start just eyeballing them. Nice little bumper here on the back for some protection. Little storage box. Of course, we got the manual and everything in there, so it's kind of hard to see. Does have a regular 2-inch receiver on it versus again on a Suzuki you've got the old school ball drop right there. A little bit of an upgrade. High range, low range, if I didn't say that. Okay. 4-wheel drive system. Again, talked about this, but you've got the selector for 2-wheel, 4-wheel, right? You slide it up, push the button, and that's going to lock all 4 tires on this model. So you have a true 4-wheel drive lock system, okay? Dash, pretty simplistic, but again, tells you what you need: 4-wheel drive indicator and your basic speedometer, trip meter, odometer, gear indicator, clock, etc., right? Nothing super fancy. Light switch, off and on, high beam, low beam, right? Parking brake. One thing that the CFMOTO does on all theirs is you've got your old school 12-volt outlet, and then you've got a USB charging system as well, okay? You do have disc brakes all the way around on the 400, okay? That is very nice. A plain wheel pattern, right? Plain black steel on the hunter green here, and then you've only got a 24-inch tall tire. So it's gonna set a little bit lower, having just a 24-inch tall tire on the CFMOTO, but not a big deal. All right, let's talk Hondas, folks. Excuse me. Y'all, I've got a Honda Rancher video we posted over a year ago. It breaks down all the models in great detail. So I'm gonna go as fast as I can probably on this and not cover every single little thing, but we'll get to it. Now, this is a 2-wheel drive electric shift, so push button, that's up there on the handlebars. All right, we'll show you here in just a second. You can get a 2-wheel drive and just a old school foot shift as well. This model is the 4-wheel drive with the DCT transmission. You can get a DCT with a straight axle on the back. You can get it with the independent on the back. You cannot get the DCT in a 2-wheel drive, and it's only available in 4-wheel drive. But if you look at these models, right, you look at them, and really they look identical. Now this one, we do have an oversized tire and wheel kit on it, okay? So Don't think that that comes on the model stock. It basically is going to look like this from the factory. The Ranchers are going to have 24-inch tall tires on them from the factory, which is what this is. The two-wheel drive does have a little fatter tire on the back than what the four-wheel drive does, just FYI. You do have the old school ball drop on the back. The Hondas with the straight axle on the back, even in the four-wheel drive, are going to have the drum brakes on the back, disc brakes on the front, okay? If you got an independent Rancher, you'd have disc brakes on the back, okay? Not a big deal, but just to let you know. If you start looking at the dash on both, really they look the same, okay? This looks just like this. The difference is that this is an automatic, so the top of this is going to look a little bit different. So on an electric shift, you've seen the buttons up and down for forever. So up and down, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 in the manual mode, and you can put it in just the electronic shift, which is 1 through 5. Or if you don't want to shift gears and you want to use the auto function, you put an auto. Then when you shift this, it's just going to put it into drive, reverse, or neutral. And again, it's just an auto, and that's it. And then of course you got your button. You hold this down, shift down to put it in reverse. Okay. Four-wheel drive selector on the four-wheel drive is going to be the same on all the Ranchers. You just slide it up, and again, you've got your limited slip diff on the 420s. Nothing really to talk about there. Old school dash, basics on the dash. Again, on the Honda Ranchers, you've got rear brake lever, front brake lever, and then you have the old school foot brake lever as well, okay? Pretty basic. Moving on, let's talk about the Yamaha Kodiak 450. This model has been around a minute as well. Derived from the old school Big Bear line that Yamaha had forever and a day. Very basic ATV here. Automatic CVT transmission. If you don't know this about Yamaha, folks, the Ultramatic transmission is going to have a 10-year belt warranty, which is absolutely unheard of. Again, for you people who are worrying about the belt, 10-year belt warranty on the Yamaha. Can't beat that. Very simplistic dash. Nothing too fancy to talk about. You do have high range and low range again, neutral, reverse, park, right? Four-wheel drive, limited slip diff on the Yamaha 450, two-wheel drive, four-wheel drive, that's it, okay? Again, basic, old school. What I like about the Yamaha, you've got massive footwells here. Massive place to put your foot. That's a big deal to me because I wear a size 14 shoe. When I get big boots on, it's really a big deal. Again, old school ball drop on the hitch. Does have independent suspension. Nice riding little mid-size ATV. Can't say anything bad about the Yamaha ATV lineup as well. Basic, old school, kind of like the Honda, but gets the job done, right? Let's see, 25-inch tall tires, if I recall. Check my memory. And yes, 25-inch tall tires on the Yamaha. Plain black steel wheel. Of course, you can get the 450 Kodiak. And I didn't mention this. Let's talk power steering. Well, I'm going to skip a whole lot of stuff here. Let me back up for just a minute, and we'll move forward again. Suzuki 400, no power steering available. So if you want power steering, you got to go to 500 in the Suzuki. CFMOTOs all have power steering. Honda two-wheel drives, no power steering available. 420 Hondas, power steering is available on mixed models. Not every model, but on mixed models you can get power steering, okay? Just to let you know. Yamaha 450 Kodiak, you can get power steering. This is a base model, but you can get the power steering on it. Moving on, 450 Sportsman from Polaris. Y'all, Polaris Sportsman's been around forever and a day as well, kind of unchanged, other than some cosmetic stuff. Nothing much has changed. They do have a receiver on the back. It is the 1 1/4 inch. Does have independent suspension. This machine does have 4-wheel independent suspension and 4-wheel disc brakes. So you do have, I'd say, probably the best brakes. Well, I don't know if I'll say the best brakes, but one of the best brakes out here for sure. Modern rack design. You can see little cutouts for the old school 5-gallon buckets. You can see all the different cutouts on the racks for the kind of lock and ride accessories that they've got. We talked about the 4-wheel drive system. Got the switch there in the handlebar. Swap that over to all-wheel drive, and all 4 tires will lock and pull once the rear slips. Again, CVT transmission. You got low range, high range, all that fun stuff, right? One thing on the Polaris, and this is on a couple other models, but I'll mention it real quick. You do have a reverse override, so a lot of machines are governed in reverse to how fast or how much RPM or throttle they will take. This will override that when you need it. A little fancier gauge than maybe what's on kind of the basic Honda or Yamaha. It's got a nice fuel gauge on here. Speedometer, hour meter. You can toggle all this stuff, and there are a bunch of different things that you can get it to read out to, right? Hour meter, let's see, count down backwards, your maintenance meter on here as well, trip meter, all that fun stuff, right? 12-volt outlet, battery tender access. It's already pre-wired on your Polarises now, so you can basically hook up a battery tender right there without having to go ahead and hook something else up to the battery, which is amazing. Gotta love that. Okay. Let's see. Talked about the one lever braking. You do have storage on the front. There is a little storage box on the Honda. I didn't open it because it's not very big. But you do have some storage on the front of the Polaris. Of course, your battery is up high, which is nice. One of the generations, they put the battery way down in the frame on the bottom of the ATV. Talk about a horrible, horrible design. But anyway, it's much, much better now. So let's talk different models on the 450. There's a base, there's a power steering, there's a utility edition. You know, several models you can get in the 450. 25-inch tall tire on the 450. Super, super nice ATV. Love the paint, or this color, the orange rust, I think they call it. One thing to note on the Polaris, you do have the extra headlight up top. So none of the 400s are going to have the extra headlight on the top. You just have the two on the bottom, but you do get that third one. You have to go to the Suzuki 500 to get a third headlight there. So that sums up, before I get into it, that sums up your 400 and your 450s, right? And some differences in the models. Nothing that I would say is daylight and dark. If I was buying one of these in the 400, 450 class, I'm probably going to buy the Yamaha or the Polaris, to be honest with you. I think they're going to have the best ride, the most features. You know, the Polaris is going to have the best four-wheel drive system out of all of these, I think. And when they're having the independent suspension on these two, of course the 400 does have independent, but the 400 is not going to compare to, in the CFMOTO, compared to the 450 or the Kodiak 450 in terms of power. You get a little more ground clearance on the Polaris, so it's going to set up the most out of these models. Again, the braking system is going to be superior. This, you know, in this class, it's just hard to beat that Polaris, really feature-wise and benefit-wise. If I was buying something old school, bare bones, I'm probably buying the Suzuki, to be honest with you, over the Honda even. Got the low range on the transmission, and Suzuki just makes a stellar product. Of course, they're all good. Maybe I'm a little biased. I am a Suzuki fan, so. And I ride a Yamaha dirt bike, so there you go. Moving on, let's talk about 500s, right? Because we're going to throw these in here, or we're maybe going to make another video and talk about these separately. I haven't decided yet. So anyway, CForce 500, next size up in the CFMOTO lineup. You'll notice there's a winch on this model. 500 up, and all your side-by-sides come from the factory with a winch. This is going to be a 2,500 pound winch, steel cable. Again, CVT transmission, two-wheel drive, four-wheel drive locker, high range, low range, obviously fuel injection. I don't know if I said it, independent suspension, regular 2-inch receiver on it. The CFMOTO lineup has done very well for us. People love the CFMOTO. Again, for the price, to get a 500cc, you can't beat the price. You just really can't. They have their whole line of accessories with this modular style rack design too on the 500 that you can bolt stuff, or not bolt it on even, just snap it on. So that's an option for you. Again, just to go over, reiterate, two-wheel drive, four-wheel drive, diff lock control, right? High range, low range on the lever there. Got your winch control up on the handlebars. and the same switch mechanism that was on the 400 as far as start and the lights and everything. Same dash, and that's really about it. I'm gonna skip the 500 Suzuki. I'm gonna go to the Can-Am Outlander 500. This thing's filthy, so I apologize. So let's talk about the Outlander. Y'all know I've got videos of the Outlanders up, the 500 and the 700. The 700 was in the other shootout video that we did. But the 500 and the 700, if you don't know this or missed it, share the same motor. It's a 650 single cylinder engine. The tuning and everything is different to control the horsepower across the lineup, and that's what does it, okay? Full independent suspension, full 2-inch hitch on this thing. Gonna be rated for the highest tow capacity, and tons of storage on this vehicle. I've showed you all the storage box before. See if I can open this up, holding the camera again. There you go, nice storage on it. It's awesome. Love the LED headlights, love the look of it. Of course, on this model, there's no bumper or anything on here. High range, low range. Got the one brake lever on it as well. Does have the power port on it for your 12-volt power. Kind of a basic dash design. You do have storage up in here, right? I like that that stands up. That's awesome. Check this out. USB charger port that's been added in here as well. All right. Usually that's just on the Pro XU. We've added that. They have a link system for accessories. We've added these little cleats. Anywhere that you see little dimples, which we've already screwed these in, there's little dimples here that tell you where they go, and then you can buy the accessories to get in, put in here. There's different, gun mounts and boxes and all kind of stuff, gas cans, chainsaw holders, radios, you name it. There's all kind of stuff that you can get, right? This is a fantastic machine. This is the base 500 with, I believe, power steering. There's a Pro 500, there's a Pro XU, and then there's a hunting special edition kind of thing. The Pro really has a different chassis, really more of a utilitarian type vehicle. Just really set up for that work application, okay? Also note on there that that one's gonna have 200-hour service increments, which is crazy to me, but that's what it's rated at, all right? And that's really about it, I guess. The XU is gonna have a speed controller, so if you're gonna pull a spreader and you need to pull at a certain speed, you can limit the speed on that, which is nice. Would have the speed key control, different drive modes, and all that fun stuff. Now let's talk about the Suzuki 500 King Quad. To me, this got to be the nicest 500 in the class. I mean, one, I think it's just a good looking ATV. It's going to have super ride. The ride is fantastic. It's got the independent suspension on it. Got the 2-inch receiver on it. High range, low range. Of course, CVT transmission. Comes with the third headlight, right? Comes with the little handguards on this model, which is great. And let's talk four-wheel drive system. We talked about the 400 having just the limited slip. The 500 and the 750's got the push-button four-wheel drive, and then the locking differential control, which is awesome. Got a little storage box up here on the front, 12-volt outlet. Again, the key switch controlling on and off, and then your headlights, and then your third headlight up on top. Regular brakes, rear brake, front brake on the other side, and then of course you have the rear foot brake as well. I cannot talk enough about how nice this machine is. You do have a little storage box on the back, ×2. Of course, we got the manual and everything in that one. If you haven't looked at the Suzuki ATVs, you really are doing yourself an injustice by not looking at them. They are not probably the least expensive model on the market. There are good incentives if you can catch the leftover models. Like right now, the 24s have got stellar rebates on them, to give you an idea. So if you buy one leftover, you get a really good deal. So we'll step back, kind of do a review. All right, folks, we're running out of time here at the shop, but one of the questions somebody asked me in one of the last videos I did was, how much horsepower does everything have? So I went inside and I wrote it all down because I can't remember everything. And here's the deal. We start with the Suzuki 400, your smaller Suzuki that I have out here. You're looking at 25 horsepower. It's definitely on the lower side. CForce 400, 30 horsepower. CForce 500, 38 horsepower, so pretty good jump there. Honda Rancher 420s, you're looking at a whopping 26 horsepower. Sportsman 450, 33 horsepower. The Kodiak Yamaha is 29 horsepower. You go up to the Can-Am 500 Outlaw, we're looking at 40 horsepower. And then on the Suzuki King Quad 500, you're looking at 38 horsepower, okay? And I know someone else also asked on the last video about weight. I'm not getting into weight. Y'all can find that on the web. Google is your friend, is all I'm gonna say. So to sum this video up, man, there's a lot of good ATVs out here. I don't think you could go wrong picking any of them. I think from a work application, you know, a little bigger engine's probably gonna make you a little more happy as far as when you are, you know, pulling something or, you know, whatever. More horsepower is not always what someone needs. A lot of times it's what we want, right? So it's kind of a what makes us happy kind of situation sometimes. I think there's some advantages to some of the bigger models with the four-wheel drive system compared to, you know, like a limited slip diff. Personally, I'd want a low range on it. I wouldn't want something that doesn't have a low range. That's just me. And I know there's been some debate. People say, oh, a manual transmission, like for example in a Honda, the manual first gear, that's low range. Well, not really. It's the lowest gear in it, but it's not really a low range. So that's not really what it is. You know, if you're just recreational riding, I think any of these vehicles can do that. They can all take you to point A to point B. They can all drag a deer out of the woods, and all that kind of fun stuff. So again, I appreciate y'all watching. I hope this video has been informative. That's the idea, not necessarily to, excuse me. It's not necessarily my idea to try to sell you one over the other. It's to just try to give you the best information that I can do. And that's kind of my job here, okay, at the store, is to help find you the vehicle that you want, fits your needs, is gonna make you happy and all that fun stuff. So I appreciate you watching. If you'd hit that like button, I'd really love it. If you'd hit the subscribe button, love it even more. We've got a lot of videos we've got planned here at the store. We just don't have enough hours in the day to do everything. I kind of wanted to ride these around today, but I don't think we're gonna get time to do that. We've got customers here at the store and lots of stuff going on. But appreciate it. See you next time.